cleaners පවුලේ ආරක්ෂාව සහතිකයි.
Tonight, a better future. A three-pillar growth strategy highlighted at the Sri Lanka Investment Forum 2021.
In developing a new post-COVID-19 vision for the tourism sector, we believe Sri Lanka needs to focus on higher value tourism products. Branding should not be low cost or budget.
Watch your back. Sri Lanka commended for organic push, but warned of international lobbying. Adding to the list, 1 million Sinopharm doses arrive once again as pregnant mothers are included in the vaccination list. Heads roll. Investigations into Covishield vaccinations in Galle result in transfer of health chiefs. All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Wednesday, the 9th of June, 2021.
ඒ කියන්නේ ලයිෆ්බෝයි අවස්ථා 10කදී ලෙඩ රෝග 10කට හේතු වන වෛරස් ඇතුළු විෂ බීජවලට එරෙහිව සටන් කරනවා කියලා.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Kanaka. Now then, get on the bus early and focus on the sectors with long-term tailwinds and invest long-term. That's the advice of a principal of a private equity group had for potential investors who are mulling the prospect of investing in Sri Lanka. His thoughts came during the third day of the Sri Lanka Investment Forum 2021 today. Also speaking there, the Vice President, Asia and Pacific of the International Finance Corporation urged the country's tourism sector to focus on higher value products in its post-COVID vision without going cheap on branding.
Day 3 of the Sri Lanka Investment Forum 2021 was worked off today, with a host of eminent figures delivering their expectations and experience in investing in the island. Delivering the keynote address, Regional Vice President, Asia and Pacific of the International Finance Corporation, Alfonso Garcia Mora, set out what he said a three-pillar growth strategy for Sri Lanka.
At IFC, we have been working with our colleagues in the World Bank, talking with public and private sector players, as well as looking at the numbers to assess the opportunities for and constraints to private sector-led growth. It is through a process called the Country Private Sector Diagnostic. For Sri Lanka, the upcoming CPSD suggests a three-pillar growth strategy. There are three industries of focus. Number one, ICT. Number two, resource-based industries. It is about developing high-end agribusiness, trademark specialty product. Number three, light specialized manufacturing. These are all sectors that do not systematically compete on price, but rather they demonstrate the ability of firms in Sri Lanka to provide value addition to their customers by leveraging unique high-quality products. It shows that Sri Lanka already has the elements of being a knowledge-intensive player on the world stage. In developing a new post-COVID-19 vision for the tourism sector, we believe Sri Lanka needs to focus on higher value tourism products. Branding should not be low cost or budget. It should instead take advantage of the country's natural resources and promote nature-based and wellness tourism.
Also speaking at the forum, co-founder and chairman of the CEO of Virtusa, Chris Kanakaratna, laid out the menu the island has to offer.
A very strong pipeline of K-16 tech-educated, aspiring and budding engineers. A highly literate, gig-amenable workforce, approximately of 8.5 million people. Top-tier infrastructure, IT sector tax exemptions, very friendly policies for foreign investment, significant square feet in terms of technology parks, easy incorporation where you can actually incorporate and start up within 3 to 6 weeks, and a very bold IT services vision that I personally believe will only get stronger with the new government and the administration. Some of the biggest brands in the world are doing business with and in Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka's investments in innovation and taking friction out of the system have garnered global recognition. Recognition from A.T. Kearney, ranking Sri Lanka number one in financial attractiveness to being recognized by the World Economic Forum as second in South Asia for competitiveness. For corporations looking for top-tier engineers, Sri Lanka delivers, equipped to handle not just today's requirements but tomorrow's technologies.
In the meantime, Animesh Agrawal, a principal in the private equity group of Blackstone too, offered thoughts on Sri Lanka's investment climate from the perspective of an organization which has put its money in Sri Lanka.
When talking about our evaluation of Sri Lanka as an investment destination, we believe Sri Lanka is well poised for accelerated growth over the coming years. The Sri Lankan business environment in general is very conducive for foreign investors, and we were impressed by the whole investment process. The regulators, the advisors, the capital market players, as well as investors are doing their best and are highly supportive of foreign investments. For example, the process of entry of capital, the process of exit of capital, currency exchanges, doing a trade on the Sri Lankan exchanges are all seamless and very well designed for foreign investors. There is no dearth of management talent. Sri Lankan companies are led by a very capable and experienced management team. As more and more foreign investors realize the potential of Sri Lanka and the GDP continues to grow, we will see exponential growth in investing and the business landscape.
What lessons have you learned, and what advice would you give other large foreign investors in their process of evaluating investment options in Sri Lanka?
Our advice would be to get in early. Sri Lanka is ripe for exponential growth going forward, and you would want to get on the bus early. Focus on the sectors with long-term tailwinds and invest for the long term. And finally, the regulators and the business community are very supportive of foreign investments here. So jump right in.
කාලගුණය කොහොමුණත් රයිනෝ නං වහලට සේෆ් තමයි මුළු ගෙදරම.
Charge Affairs of the US Embassy in Colombo, Martin Kelly, has called on Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena at the Foreign Ministry yesterday. During the meeting, the minister had conveyed the government's deep concerns on the proposed resolution number H-Res.413, which was introduced by Congresswoman Deborah Ross on the 18th of May this year. Minister Gunawardena has explained that the said resolution will not be useful for reconciliation efforts in Sri Lanka. He had sought the immediate intervention of the US State Department to convey the concerns and the position of the government pertaining to the resolution to the chair and members of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, as well as the respective congresspersons, in order to withdraw or amend it. While thanking for the consignment of USAID emergency medical supplies which arrived on the 4th of June, the Foreign Minister had also expressed gratitude over possible US technical assistance to mitigate adverse environmental impact caused by the MV Express Pearl disaster. Although the Sri Lankan government's plans to overhaul the country's agricultural sector and transform it into a fully organic one has met with scepticism and also vocal opposition from some sections, the move has garnered support from world-renowned experts in the field. Speaking at a webinar on regenerative organic farming, Dr. Vandana Shiva, president of Navdani International, an organization that promotes conservation, renewal and rejuvenation, says that fears of low yield and less profitability are unwarranted and that evidence clearly shows that there are only all-round benefits from the move.
Sri Lanka's ban on chemical fertilizer and pesticides has attracted quite a bit of opposition. However, for decades, the country's rural agricultural sector's reliance on chemicals to increase yields and ward off pests in the north-central province alone, Sri Lanka's agricultural heartland, chronic kidney disease has been the silent killer and a destroyer of familial economies, as more farmers fell prey to the deadly condition. First detected in the province in the mid-90s, recent studies on the subject looked at a total of 30,566 chronic kidney disease and chronic kidney disease of unknown etiology patients diagnosed in hospitals in the province from 2003 to 2017. This alone paints an alarming picture of how widespread the problem had become. The study also found that among the affected, of which males between the age of 50 to 70 made up the majority, a total of 1,685 deaths, or 17.5%, occurred within the first 3 years of diagnosis, while 23.2% occurred within just a year. Of these cases, farmers made up the majority, with 70.6% in Anuradhapura and 65.1% in Polonnaruwa. However, since the 2015 ban on glyphosate-based weedicide Roundup, after Sri Lankan researchers proved links between it and the systematic growth of CKD, things began to look up for agriculture. However, Sri Lanka still has quite a long road to traverse, and its main task right now seems to be how successful its attempts to wean the farming community of chemical dependency are. However, global experts on the subject have welcomed the move, including Dr. Vandana Shiva, a world-renowned environmental activist, when she joined a webinar hosted by the National Institute of Plantation Management on regenerative organic farming.
So I want to also congratulate you for your Control of Pesticides Act. And I want to congratulate you because your Agriculture Ministry and Health Ministry worked together to make the acts. You did the leading work on Roundup and the chronic kidney disease. And I remember facilitating the evidence from Sri Lanka at the Monsanto Tribunal. I want to add that it is not fair that your beautiful island should have to suffer that ship disaster near Colombo. And ironically, it's like a message. What is it carrying? It's carrying nitric oxide, which is used to make both synthetic nitrogen fertilizers and explosives. It's not an accident that these chemicals are causing so much harm because they were designed to cause harm.
With a lot of the opposition to the country's organic transition centering around farmer fears of a lack of effective soil nutrients, Dr. Shiva, however, believes that in contrast, soil conditions will improve, as witnessed in organic projects run by her organization.
So how have we healed the soil with organic farming? Let me just run through some data for you. The organic matter on 200 farms, organic and chemical. On the organic farms, the organic matter is up to 99% higher than 20 years ago. On the chemical farms, it's down 14%. But nitrogen is the puzzling factor for scientists who are taught to think you put nitrogen, you'll have more nitrogen. No, nitrogen in the soil has gone down 22% in chemical farms fed with urea, made from the nitric acid that is leaking in your coast. And nitrogen is up 100% on our farms. In organic soils, the organisms are making the nitrogen. They are our fertilizer factories. And when we kill them with nitrogen fertilizer, we are killing the capacity of the soil to make its nitrogen. I look forward to working with you on this transition. We've made this transition over 36 years, and we want to make all of our learning and all of our research available to you.
In addition, Dr. Shiva also revealed startling links between the chemically grown food we consume and serious medical conditions that have become a norm among our youth.
Public health specialists in Australia, when they visited us, when they saw our research, they said, now we understand why half of the teenage population of Australia is suffering from depression, because they do brain chemistry and they found zinc deficiency in the brain. But if there's zinc deficiency in the soil, there'll be zinc deficiency in the plants, there'll be zinc deficiency in the food you eat, and then there'll be zinc deficiencies in our body, leading to depression. Manganese, which has been identified for attention deficit disorder, 17% less.
With the question of how profitable organic agriculture will be for countries like Sri Lanka, Dr. Shiva says that what is more important should ideally be making money in a socially conscious way and leaving a healthier world behind.
For them, the purpose of life is make more money at any cost. For us, the purpose of life has to be, yes, make money, but through taking care of life on earth. And we will make money. It's not that we won't, but we will make honest money. We will make non-violent money.
Meanwhile, Dr. Shiva also warned the Sri Lankan government to be prepared to bear the brunt of massive international lobbying against its move by CropLife, an international trade association of agrochemical companies that she labelled the poison cartel.
The UN asked me to be part of the framing of the protocol on biosafety. It's called the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety. So I was part of this group and witnessed throughout all that time the power of, I call them the poison cartel. They call themselves CropLife. And I know they will bring pressure on your government in every way. So I wish you all strength, and I'm there to work with you. I have survived this cartel for 4 decades. So I have experience on resilience against the poison cartel.
Now then, expectant mothers were given the vaccine against COVID-19 for the first time in the island today. Even then, health authorities say that only selected categories of expectant mothers will be eligible for the jab, with the level of risk and underlying health conditions being factors. There's more good news on the vaccine front as another consignment of 1 million Sinopharm doses reached the country this morning. What's more, the President's Media Division also announced today that the Japanese government has responded positively to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's request for 600,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine.
Since Sri Lanka's vaccination program began on the 29th of January, over 1.6 million people in Sri Lanka have received at least one dose of a vaccine against COVID-19. As such, persons over the age of 30 were identified as a priority group to be given the vaccine, as many COVID-19 cases were predominantly reported concerning persons over 30. The only groups excluded from the vaccination program as a whole across the world were expectant mothers and persons under the age of 18 due to the lack of scientific data available on these two categories. However, this changed recently, and today the Sinopharm vaccine was administered to the expectant mothers over the age of 35 with health complications.
I would like to urge the pregnant mothers that this will be given only to a selected category based on the risk that they are posing, and therefore the guidance will be given by the public health midwife of the area together with the medical officer of health. So be in contact with your respective public health midwife so that they will arrange if you are supposed to get this vaccine, and they will give you the date and time on which you should get this vaccine.
Meanwhile, Sri Lanka received another consignment of 1 million doses of China's Sinopharm vaccine earlier today as part of a purchase order placed by the State Pharmaceuticals Corporation. The consignment was transported to the Central Vaccine Storage Complex at the Ministry of Health. With the latest batch, Sri Lanka has now received 3.1 million Sinopharm vaccine doses in total since receiving its first batch of 600,000 doses early in March as a donation. In other developments, the President's Media Division announced today that the request made by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to the Prime Minister of Japan Yoshihide Suga seeking to obtain 600,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine has received a positive response. This was revealed following a discussion that took place between the President and the Japanese Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Sugiyama Akira, at the Presidential Secretariat this morning. The Japanese government has also agreed to the President's request to provide medical supplies and healthcare equipment needed by the country. In the meantime, health authorities began administering the second dose of the Sinopharm vaccine in the Colombo municipality yesterday. As such, 166 persons received the jab, while 43,454 persons were administered with the first dose of the Sinopharm vaccine. This takes the total number of persons to receive the first dose of the China-manufactured vaccine to over 1.33 million. 466 persons also received the second dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine yesterday, taking the number of persons to be fully inoculated with the AstraZeneca to 353,789. Meanwhile, the epidemiology unit confirmed 2,682 new COVID-19 cases in the country yesterday. With all the districts recording fresh cases, there were also 45 imported cases among yesterday's caseload. The Colombo district topped the list with 602 cases, while Gampar recorded 434 cases. With the Kalutara district reporting 113 infections, the Western province confirmed a total of 1,149 infections yesterday. Meanwhile, 270 COVID-19 infections were reported from Kurunegala, while 222 were recorded from Batiklo. The Nuwara and Ratnapura districts confirmed 119 infections each yesterday.
Currently, we are getting around 2,500 cases a day, and if you assume that all these patients are going to spend around 10 days in the institutions, we need around 25,000 to 30 beds, which we have already prepared and we are having it. However, if there is any unexpected need to cater more patients for some reason or the other, the health system has the capacity, because the system itself is having around 80,000 bed capacity, and we have already allocated only the underutilized facilities for the treatment of the COVID patients, and also we have a large number of additional beds added to the system through other means, so that we do not want to compromise the routine health services given by the health system to the general public. However, if there is any contingency situation where we need to get more beds, we can easily reallocate the existing bed capacity to treat the patient. So people should not worry about that kind of things. What is required is to reduce the current emergence of new cases so that existing bed capacity will be sufficient to manage them, and we need to gradually reduce the numbers so that it will be beneficial both to the public as well as into the health system.
In the meantime, Sri Lanka passed another grim milestone yesterday. 54 COVID-19 related deaths were confirmed, making it the first time the daily deaths exceeded the 50 mark. That took the overall death toll to 1,843. According to the Department of Government Information, 15 of the victims had succumbed to the virus between the 10th of May and the 31st of May. The remaining had perished between the 2nd of June and the 7th of June. As per official data, 26 victims were aged over 70, while 11 victims were between the ages of 61 and 69. The remaining 12 had been between the ages of 30 to 59. Meanwhile, with 2,168 COVID-19 patients being confirmed to have recovered from the novel coronavirus today, the country's overall number of recoveries rose to 180,427. There, however, are 2,716 fresh infections confirmed in the island so far, taking the number of active cases in the country to 31,107.
An AdaDerana expose showing Colombo residents lining up outside the Galle District Director of Health Services office to be administered Covishield second doses drew massive public outcry. The Health Ministry launched an immediate investigation that saw heads roll even before the conclusion. Both the Regional Director of Health Services and the Regional Director for Epidemiology for the Galle District were removed from their posts forthwith and have been transferred out.
On Monday, an AdaDerana expose highlighted what appeared to be Oxford AstraZeneca second doses being administered to Colombo residents, however, at the office of the Galle District Director of Health Services. However, what was more alarming was the fact that the current provincial travel restrictions did not seem to have been able to stop a large number of vehicles from crossing provincial borders. Following the reports and the resultant public outcry, an immediate investigation was launched by the Ministry of Health. Meanwhile, when the issue was brought up at a media briefing held at the Health Promotion Bureau this morning, Health Ministry spokesperson Dr. Hemantha Herath stated that it was too early to jump to conclusions or confirm any allegations until investigations were wrapped up.
අපි දන්නවා ඒ එන්නත් ඒ ප්‍රදේශයට යවුවා මොකද සෞඛ්‍ය සේවකීන්ට සහ ඒ වගේම ෆ්‍රන්ට් ලයින් සේවකීන් සඳහා.
එතකොට ඒක මේ දෙවනි වටේ විදින්න කියලා දෙයවුවේ පළවෙනි වටේ විදින්න කියලා දෙයවුවේ.
දෙවනි වටයක් විදින්න නේද? මොකද සෞඛ්‍ය සේවකීන්ටත් දෙවනි වටයක් අපි දුන්නා. ඒක විදගත්තාද කියන එක බව එළිවන තෙක් අපිට මෙතෙන්දී පොදුවේ ඒ විදිහට චෝදනා ඉදිරිපත් කරන එක මං හිතන්නේ යෝග්‍ය නැහැ.
However, during the course of the day, the Health Ministry did jump into action, removing both the Regional Director of Health Services and the Regional Director for Epidemiology for the Galle District from their posts and transferred them with immediate effect.
For a second consecutive day, the colour-coded vehicle sticker system implemented by the police since Monday was not implemented at any entry points into Colombo. However, the police say that the system was stopped because 78,000 essential service personnel were issued the stickers and believe that the figure is sufficient to identify all essential services personnel.
The colour-coded sticker system implemented by the police to identify essential service vehicles on Monday was short-lived, as it was not seen in effect yesterday. A similar situation was seen today as a continuous flow of vehicles was seen entering Colombo through some of the main roads, with many not being given a sticker. Finally, the police gave an explanation as to why the sticker system was not in effect yesterday or today.
78,000 ස්ටිකර් ඉදිරිපත් වෙලා තියෙනවා වාහන වලට. ඒ නිසා අපි හිතනවා දෛනිකව කරන අත්‍යවශ්‍ය සේවාවන් පවත්වා ගැනීම සඳහා ඒ සංඛ්‍යාව ප්‍රමාණවත් කියලා. අපි ඒ නිසා ඒ වැඩපිළිවෙල తాවකාලිකව නතර කරලා ඉවරලා නමුත් ස්ටිකර් ප්‍රදර්ශන නොකරන සහ නිසි අවසරයකින් තොරව සංචාරණය වාහන සම්බන්ධයෙන් නීතිමය ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගැනීම සඳහා කරන සෝදිසි කිරීම දෛනිකව කරනවා.
In the meantime, the police raided a birthday party that was held in the area of Halpitia in Casbeva yesterday and arrested 10 persons. After being produced before the Casbeva Magistrates Court, the police was instructed to take required action against the suspects in accordance with the quarantine laws. In other developments, officers of the Gampa District Forest Conservation Unit raided a Gampa factory in the area of Siduva today for purchasing unlicensed neem tree timber from an area in Buttala, violating travel restrictions. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Agriculture announced today that all economic centres in the country will be open for wholesale trade on the 12th and 13th of this month amidst the restrictions. Traders, however, said that although the economic centres in the island were open for wholesale trade today, the prices of vegetables remained very high. Mobile traders also expressed discontent due to the rise in vegetable prices and fruits.
A host of new judicial appointments have been approved by the Parliamentary Council. This includes the appointment of Court of Appeals President Arjun Obesekera as a Justice of the Supreme Court, who was nominated by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to fill a vacancy created by the retirement of former Supreme Court Justice Sisira Diabru. The Parliamentary Council has also approved the nomination of Appeals Court Judge KP Fernando to the post of vacant position of Appeals Court President. Accordingly, High Court Judge Shashi Mahendran has been approved to fill the vacancy created by Judge Fernando's promotion. In addition, the Council has agreed to appoint Supreme Court Judge LTB Dehidenia to fill the vacancy created in the Judicial Service Commission with the retirement of Judge Sisira Diabru. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now taking a look at the Colombo Bourse, Sri Lankan stocks closed 0.29% higher today as the all-share price index gained 22.06 points to close at 7,564.26. The S&P SL 20 index of more liquid stocks meanwhile gained 0.31% to close at 3,042.47 points, while the overall market turnover was 1.4 billion rupees. Here's Dimantha Matthew now to give you an update on how the market performed today.
The stock market recovered from yesterday's reversal in the index as the ASPI climbed by around 22 points to end at 7,564 points. So overall, we are seeing a positive attitude today. At the start of the day itself, we saw a sizable surge in the market during the early hours of trading, and then the market managed to sustain that level throughout the day. We are seeing a lot of stabilization that is going on in some of the most traded counters over the last few days.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.